We analyzed 19 Wisconsin cities for their affordability and LGBTQ plus friendliness. Which came out on top?
Guess what? Madison did not make the top spot or the runner-up position.
Right? You're listening to Queer Money episode 385, and today we're talking Wisconsin. Cheese.
Now on with the show.
The mission of Queer Money is to financially empower the LGBTQ plus community. Join us in thanking Capital One for supporting that mission.
This is episode number 2.
It is. Wisconsin.
Of the affordability and LGBTQ friendliness series that we're doing for all of the great country of the United States. And today we're talking about the great state of Wisconsin. We analyzed a total of 19 cities in Wisconsin. Clearly, Wisconsin's a little bit more populous than Wyoming. So, David, who is the runner-up? What is the runner-up city for affordability and LGBTQ friendliness in the state of Wisconsin?
Right. So when we looked at our rankings, honorable mention goes to Green Bay, which is interesting.
Not just a football team.
Right. Exactly. What's interesting about both of the winner and the runner-up is that they weren't the highest and lowest in any of these categories, but they were kind of right in the middle when it comes to affordability. So for Green Bay, it's actually decent when it comes to affordability. Average rent is $943, which is interesting because that is actually cheaper than last week's winner in Wyoming, Laramie, Wyoming. So you can find a decent apartment in Green Bay for much less. And the cost of living in the state is actually pretty good as well.
It's just above average.
Just above average, right? So they also have good average and median household income, which means that this is a place where your cost of living and your affordability for rent and even buying a home is pretty good. And you have decent income in this city as well. So that's part of the reason why this is a runner-up. And then it's number 4 when it came to the 19 cities when we looked at HRC's Municipal Equality Index. It did not get 100, but it came in pretty close.
Yeah, and it's just below average on cost of home values at $256,000.
Tired of all the credit card offers you get from your current credit scoring app? Download CreditWise by Capital One today to avoid them.
So who is the winner? What? Racine, Wisconsin. Why? Well, similar to Green Bay, it's not number 1 in any single category. It's they're doing great with the bees.
Yeah,
being average. So it's not number 1 in any single category. It does have lower average rent, and it's actually lower than Green Bay, to be honest. It's at $932.
That's kind of crazy.
A month. Much better than Green Bay in terms of home values at just under $229,000.
Right. So rent and housing is cheaper in Racine than it is in Green Bay,
and it gets even better.
Right. So cost of living is slightly below Green Bay. It's above average and above Green Bay when it comes to average and median household income, which you know that by combining those two together, both the average and the median, you kind of get this spread of what's going on with income in the city, and it kind of overweights income a little bit because we all want to live in a city where we can find a decent job, right?
Yeah, totally.
And then here's the kicker. It was one of 3 cities in Wisconsin that did get a 100 on the HRC Municipal Equality Index, right? So they're doing the best that they can as a city to try to attract equality and inclusion into their policies.
So how is the best of list for the state of Wisconsin not include Madison and Milwaukee as either the number 1 spot or the runner-up?
Yeah.
Well, so both Madison and Milwaukee got number 1s on HRC's Municipality Equality Index. So that's awesome.
Right.
But Madison's last when it comes to rent and home affordability, as well as cost of living. So we're trying to weigh LGBTQ friendliness along with affordability. This is, financial podcast, Queer Money podcast. We're looking for affordability. It's as important to us as equality. And so that's unfortunately Madison sort of loses the opportunity there. Milwaukee's not also not far behind in terms of those affordability categories, although they're both great gay cities and they'd be great to visit. if you're living in Green Bay or living in Racine, they're great to visit. Maybe go to Madison and Milwaukee for the weekend.
Right.
But they're not the most affordable. So maybe not necessarily the best place to live if you're concerned about cost of living and other expenses.
Right. So what are some of the highlights about Racine? Well, Racine made national news in 2021 because, and this isn't necessarily a great thing, but it shows you I think the drive of people in the community.
I want to be friends with this couple.
Yes, exactly. A gay couple in Racine was told by their HOA that they had to remove their pride flag. So what did they do? They set up floodlights to illuminate their house as a giant rainbow at night. That's awesome, right?
Touche.
Exactly.
Flags down.
And then the LGBT Center of Southeast Wisconsin is super active.
Active.
Right. They do a lot of activities. And then there is a great pub called Pepe's, and it's also very active within the community. So you have a lot going on here. You have community activities, you have great places to hang out, and you have people within the community who are really strong about LGBT inclusion, rights, and actually being present.
Exactly. And maybe with the right amount of competition, Green Bay can be number one next year. But meanwhile, congratulations, Racine. It's not just an old gay restaurant in Denver. Start your journey to financial independence with a checking and savings account that doesn't nickel and dime you with fees. Get a Capital One 360 checking or 360 performance savings account at Capital One today.
Thank you again for listening. Next Thursday, join us for state number 3, West Virginia.
What? If you'd like to see the results of all the cities in each state that we're analyzing, go to queermoneypodcast.com/cities or click the link in your podcast player for a growing analysis. Thank you and have a great weekend.